Good afternoon, everyone. Jason here. Today is July 25th, and this is your aftermarket update. All right, so before we start talking about today, just a reminder, I've had a dental issue I've been dealing with off and on. I was out of the office a day or two last week, and just again, so if my words don't sound quite precise, I still have a little bit of work left to be done here, and so my apologies leading into this video. We did have a good day here. On the day we've had a kind of an up and down week so far. Monday, small win. Tuesday, small loss. Today, however, was a really nice winning day. You can see by the price ladders up here kind of how we ended on the CL and ES up here. We had a really nice day. Now, again, when you look at this trade of the day that I'm going to show you here, it was kind of an interesting trade of the day, but one of the things I'm going to draw your attention to on this trade of the day is that we had a small losing trade going into this trade, this one that I'm going to show you today. So ended up with a 120 tick trade here on 3 lots. We'll talk about that, how we got to 3 lots here today. We were able to do something that we aren't able to do or haven't been able to do very much recently, and that was add to a winning position. So really, when you can get yourself to where you can add to a winning position like we did today, you have a lot lower risk on the front end, right? In this case, we had a 10 tick stop on 1 lot on the front end, and we ended up writing this trade for 40 ticks on 3 lots. And so when you can minimize the risk on the front end and maximize the reward on the back end, you end up with a really handsome trade. And that's what we did today. So basically, we talk about our levels. Today was crude oil inventory report Wednesday, and we spent a lot of time just kind of banging around between these 2 levels. And then we had the inventory number came out, and it really shot right up through to our extension 1 here today. One of the things that we talk about in great detail in the trading room is the 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. swing zone. And you can see that's kind of labeled up here, swing zone, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. swing zone. We look for this reversal pattern that we had here today. In fact, we had 2 of these reversal patterns, one on the way up one on the way up and then one on the way down. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Market rallies all the way up into this resistance area. We got to within, well, this level was 1 tick below the high. Market comes down. Now, I waited for the confirmation pattern. I'm going to show you the chart with the confirmation pattern here in just a moment because, again, this was a very heavy 2-3 minute bars, really heavy into this resistance area. So it's going to be hard to step in front of that train without some confirmation. But then the market immediately rolls over and sells off all the way down into the structure signal down below. In fact, we were holding on for a little bit deeper target all the way down here to this 91, which obviously it did not reach. But it did give us a good opportunity here on the way down. On the way back up, it found support, did not close below the structure signal. Again, your level held intact there. Market rallies up and then really basically rallies up for the balance of the day before you get a little bit of a sell-off. So it's a really interesting day here. We did not trade this area here. We only traded this rally into the sell-off here. Down below, we really didn't trade much. After that, again, we had a nice 120 tick move, so there was no really need to trade into that move to the downside, but you had the opportunity if you wanted it. Let's take a look here. This is the confirmation pattern that I was waiting for earlier today. We talked about, again, not being able to step in front of that moving train. Market comes up, could not make a new high. Then you had this whole series in real quick succession of price action moving and rotating in real quick succession. And really what you can see is that we took and were unable to get up through this area, this resistance point, and this was the what got me short here. So if you just kind of analyze this, you had 8,200 contracts trying to get through. You had a very small pullback, and then 1,000 contracts trying to get through it again. A little bit smaller pullback. 793, a little bit lower this time, couldn't quite get through. Basically, you can see that we had numerous attempts on several contracts to be able to get up through here, and we were unable to get through the resistance area. So that was, now again, this was very quick, but this gave us a 3-bar pattern, blue, yellow, red, 1 tick below the signal bar, and that's where we jumped on board, and the market just continued to sell off all the way to the downside here today until you got down into this low and began to rally again. The point of that is this. We knew that we were expecting the 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. swing zone to occur on the CL today, up against or inside of this area. And so once the market began to give you this 3-bar pattern against a resistance, you had the perfect formation of this reversal bar, and then the market began to sell off. We jumped on board, and we were able to cash in on a number of ticks here today. So basically what I'm going to show you here is I'm going to show you where we get into the trade. I'm going to cut that trade into pieces, and then I'm going to speed it up, put a few notes around it. Oh, one thing I did meant to tell you is we did look to add to the position. And so when the market began to really sell off here today, I meant to add that, sorry. Once the market began to sell off and we began to break through some of these levels, like in this case, we were looking to add around 93, and then we said if we broke that 57, there was a 57 bottom down here, that if we broke that bottom, we would look to add another contract, and we were looking to try to hold on all the way down to this daily structure extension 1. So by the time we finished up, we ended up with 3 contracts. So again, we had the one lot that we started with a 10-tick stop. So you had 10 ticks on one lot, and you ended up with 3 contracts. And I'll show you this as we go through, and I'll kind of note that as you go through the video. And then we ended up with 3 contracts with 40 ticks on the move. So again, very handsome day here at the Oil Trading Group. And again, so what you're going to see is I'm going to show you how I get into the trade. I'm going to then cut it into pieces, speed it up, put some music behind it, put a few notes around it so you can see how we got into the trade, and then ultimately what happened is we were managing the trade, and then where it is that we finally get out of the trade. So I'm going to quit talking now and let you watch this OTG trade of the day. I'm in at 29, by the way. Stop is 39. Target, well, we're going to look to try to come back down to this 12 and maybe down to 89, 88.